huge.
Only because this stuff's forever. It's just out
Sure,
there forever,
but
so.
even that's not true.
Yeah.
Even that's not true.
All right.
So thinking about the sermon,
Yes.
and one of the things that I sort of, I appreciate how you put it. It's always really hard to embrace it. So I have ADHD. And one of the things that's common with it, but not always true, is the sort of like you're displaced out of your body. You're not in tune with like a lot of the things that happen there. So like one of the things I forget often is drinking water.
Oh.
And there's this reality of like, I need to drink water. I'm a human, but my experience is not that I'm thirsty. My experience is I got all the stuff that needs to get done, or I'm just distracted by one thing or the other. And then all of a sudden it's been a day and I did not drink water throughout the day and my kidney hurts.
Yeah.
But it's this whole like, here's my experience and my circumstances of what I think things are, but the reality is I still need water at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so what Brian was doing a good job was setting up sort of like God as the foundational reality of all things, regardless of how you feel. And then applying that to regardless of your circumstances too, is like, he still is. And like his word is his word. Like his word is exactly what he does, because he doesn't double take or lie or, go back on that. So it's so easy in suffering to go to a human space, because we're humans, of course, and then apply that to God, or apply that to all of these different things where it's like, your circumstance is your circumstance, and God can still be God within that. It's just sort of our expectation might be, well, why am I feeling this way then?
Right.
Why does it have to be so long? And that's not to that sort of thing also can take out the caring portion of God too, because that's important in his personal care and interest in his creation and kids, as you would know for being a parent too.
Yes.
You got to have those moments of very stark, like, this is just the facts, but also I love you at the same time.
Yeah.
So I liked that piece to it of being able to parse out the circumstances versus reality, regardless of your circumstances, sort of thing, and suffering. It seems to be lacking in culture right now, especially because your experience is your reality at that point. And there's some truth to that. Yeah, it is your perspective. It is your reality, but there's certain things that are happening regardless of what you're experiencing.
Right.
And one of those, fortunately, is God's care and provision in your life. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, I think that tied into sort of one of my greatest takeaways, or one of the pieces I really loved, was when Brian was talking about how Isaiah wasn't trying to fix Israel's problems.
Yeah.
And he instead was spending all this time reminding them of who God is. And I think when, and he talked about how our circumstances can really kind of narrow our field of vision. And
oh yeah, what was the weariness narrows your vision, God expands it, or something like that.
Yeah, something in that piece. And and I really loved that takeaway, because it's a great thing to remember when you feel like overwhelmed by your circumstances, is to remember who God is. And I love that practice of going through. Haven't done it yet because it's barely been 24 hours, but I loved that practice that he challenged us with, to go through a section in Isaiah. I can't remember which verses, but to identify all the different characteristics of God, because I think that we need to do that, especially when we're feeling overwhelmed by something that just isn't changing in the timing that, we would love to see it change or fixed or, come to fruition. And is just remembering that God's good character and he has a good plan and his timing is perfect.
And he don't change.
Yeah. And it's almost like when you kind of start walking through all of that, it just starts to take the, for lack of a better term, sort of the stress out of your mind and body. If you just practicing that, like remembering who God is, like he's for you, he's not against you.
Yeah.
So even though you feel like all these circumstances and all the storm is raging around you or whatever it is, like God is for you. He's got a good plan. He hasn't forgotten you, and you're part of it.
Yeah. And it's those concrete things. It's that unchanging nature of God that it's like, this has nearly nothing to do with you, actually, is that he's going to be who he is regardless,
Right.
If he's perfection, that's sort of the way that flows, which he is. It's so... Well, no, I was about to say it's easy. It's not easy.
Yeah.
None of this is easy, truly.
If it was easy, yeah.
But I'm just thinking about like my experience of long suffering and choosing God in that and choosing to focus on him, which, again, not easy, especially like the day-to-day going through that and trying to continue in it. It's helpful to have good friends and like people who point you to Jesus.
Yeah.
That was some of his other stuff too, was like, listen to worship music, which I would just say listen to music that points you to God, truly.
Yeah.
Because worship gets caught up in a genre that isn't necessarily necessary. That's a different conversation entirely, though. Worship music is great. Listen to it. There's my foot in the mouth moment, but yeah, just like those little things that keep pointing you towards him that help you in the day-to-day continuation of it, because long suffering is long at that. But yeah, thinking about my own and like coming out the other side finally, like through some long periods of suffering where it's like, he was right. Like, this is so true.
Yeah.
Like, lean on God.
Yeah.
He's there. Like, he's working. And there's a process that needs to happen. And we would think it's just, no, fix it. Fix things. I want to feel better. I want to feel happy. And he's like, no, I'm going to make you feel full. And I'm going to make you be drawn closer to me in this process.
Well, and that's the part that, like, we don't like that part.
It's true.
Because it's not usually about the circumstances. I would venture to say, and I don't know if this is theologically correct, it's never about the circumstances. It's about training up the hearts of his people and positioning others to have that opportunity to grow stronger in him too. And so these circumstances are an opportunity to be reminded that we need to cling to him instead of clinging to the circumstance. And
isn't that what's often said, like even in secular culture, is it's not about the circumstances, it's about what you do with the circumstances,
Yeah.
So it's like, it's out there.
It's biblical truth, right?
It's also biblical truth, but biblical truth is that one step forward.
Right.
Often it ends at like, well, just have a strong mind about things and you'll make it through.
Yeah.
And the truth to that is you bear through, and in time things change, because that's also a truth of life. Yeah. But the fundamental biblical truth part is, but at the end, like at the core of life is God.
Yeah.
And
his
you're
ways.
not enough. And you're not enough.
And
it's the people who break in that are the ones who go long enough where they're like, okay, I have a strong mind, but this is still terrible. When you recognize and your soul starts to recognize, I need something more out of this. And that's where God comes in. And sometimes maybe he's the one who's like, I'm waiting for you to get there, and then
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't speak for him on that front, like, because everyone is different and he knows it.
Right. But you see it. You've seen it. You know, you can see it in people's lives sometimes as an outsider too. Is, you can see somebody whose circumstances, and their world's just getting really rocked, and things are being stripped away from them, and they're angry with God, and they're like, what's going on? Like, I thought you led me to this, and now you're taking away from me.
Yeah.
And, and then and it just feels like things are getting piled on them, but, kind of from the outside, and with a lot of experience in your own life and your own circumstances of things you've gone through, you can kind of see what God is doing for them, is they're kind of he's tearing down this thing that you built that probably felt pretty good to you, or, seemed like the right way to go, but was extremely taxing because you're doing it without him. And in tearing all that down, he's giving you another opportunity to do what, you really need to do the most, which is to rely on him and to seek him for strength, seek him for wisdom, seek him for discernment, instead of constantly spinning your wheels to try and figure out things for yourself and then taking action based on what you figured out for yourself,
right.
rather than,
right.
Doing the long, difficult, hard thing of
mm-hmm.
just constantly like putting your trust in Him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard. It's very, very difficult.
And it's hard to wait for the next move, because that's what it also is like this, okay, this is where I'm being guided. Take the step. Wait.
Right.
Let it sink in,
Yeah. But I don't want to leave people hopeless. It's hard.
Yeah.
But it's
good.
Exercise.
It's so good.
It's
yes.
like any practice that it gets easier. Mm-hmm. And that voice, that direction, that discernment comes louder and faster.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As far as, it always bugs me when I hear the idea that God hasn't answered your prayer yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know where these aren't my words, but somebody said God always answers your prayers. It's either a yes, no, or wait.
Yeah.
And there's one of those choices we really don't like, and it's usually the wait. We don't like wait. We want a definitive, because we can work with no.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
We might not like that answer, but wait is
and immediacy, like for an answer in suffering, is even more of a hard thing to handle.
Yeah.
One of the other things that kind of stands out for me is the trying to tell anybody else about this.
Yeah.
So going through something, coming out the other side, realizing this is like God sees you through it all.
Yeah.
Like truly. And it going through the first time helps the second time, the third time.
Right.
Doesn't make suffering easier, but it makes the process of I know my steps. I know how to wait. I know like a little bit more. Like you said, working out the muscle of it. Telling anybody else is so hard to do, because it's like it comes across so like, here's your answer. Here's what you need. You just need a little bit of God.
Yeah.
Where it's like, but He specifically knows you and the things that need to be untangled in there. Like, I watched Him untangle my specifics. I don't know yours.
Right.
I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah.
And I think that's also the part of having long-suffering people in your life as well.
Yeah.
Isaiah was the voice for the people.
Right.
And they needed Isaiah in that as well. And so it's just like remembering to be someone who's like non-prescriptive with this, but just pointing.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's where, we have to rely on God's discernment.
Totally.
Because we don't want to fall into the trap of being the Christian that gives out very Christianese advice. Well, just rely on God, just pray, just, cling to Him, and like all those things are true. But you put that up against somebody who's really dealing with something hard that just stings, because it's like, you're not relying on God, you're not praying, you're not doing anything you should be doing. And that's not necessarily the truth.
Right. But being someone who is putting these things into practice and like meditating on God, on the truth of who God is, on His word.
Yeah.
And then being that for somebody at the same time, that is such a healing balm for most people,
Right.
If not fixing the problem, at least someone to be around and supportive in that time in the way that God would use it.
Right.
God uses all things for sure, but that I found that to be the type of people that I'm like, oh, thank you for existing. Thank you for being with me through this thing.
And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you just need people to recognize and affirm, like, this is really hard. And that might be just right there what they need.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, this is really hard. And, and then it's on you at that point to take that back and actually do the hard thing and be praying for that person. And I don't know about
God
you.
is with them too. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know about you, but sometimes it can, I feel most convicted when there's somebody I've been praying for that's struggling with something. And I feel convicted when I get kind of like tired of praying for the same thing. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're the ones going through it. And I'm over here getting like, feeling like, oh gosh, and I got to pray for this again. And, like, dang, like, how sinful am I? What a terrible thing. And I don't know. It's definitely a practice that clearly God uses in the lives of the ones that are going through the suffering, but also around the church and the, that is supposed to be lifting each other up in love. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But,
Well, God is good.
Yeah, He is.
He's with us. So
Yep.
I call that a win.
Very much so.
Oh, anyways, good chat.
Yeah.